We know their names: Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, the titans of thought who laid the foundations of Western philosophy. But behind the famous dialogues and celebrated ideas lie stories rarely told of rivalries, exile, betrayal, and lives shaped by politics, war, and wonder. These weren't just thinkers, they were rebels, mystics, and wanderers, each with a life as compelling as the wisdom they left behind. In this video, we go beyond the textbooks to uncover the untold stories of ancient Greek philosophers, the passions, the perils, and the human struggles behind their immortal minds. In the bustling port city of Miletus, where the Meander River kissed the Aegean Sea, the year was 505 BC. The air was thick with the scent of olive oil and salt, and the marketplace thrummed with merchants hawking pottery, fish, and dyed fabrics from distant lands. Amid this vibrant chaos, a man named Thales, with a weathered face and eyes that seemed to pierce the veil of the cosmos, stood apart, known to some as a merchant, to others as a sage. Thales was a figure of curiosity, his mind a labyrinth of questions that no one else dared to ask. Thales was not born to privilege. His father, Exames, was a Phoenician trader who had settled in Miletus, and his mother, Cleobuline, was a local woman of modest means. As a boy, Thales had watched ships glide into the harbor, their sails taut with the breath of the gods, and wondered what lay beyond the horizon. But it was not the lands across the sea that captivated him most. It was the sky, the stars, and the invisible forces that governed them. By the time he was a man, Thales had earned a reputation for predicting olive harvests and navigating treacherous waters. But his true passion lay in unraveling the mysteries of existence itself. On this particular morning, as the sun climbed above the Acropolis, Thales stood at the edge of the agora, his cloak dusted with the chalk of his latest musings. He had spent the night sketching diagrams in the sand, tracing the paths of celestial bodies. The townsfolk whispered that he was mad, that he sought to challenge the gods by reducing the world to mere elements. But Thales cared little for their gossip. He believed that everything, earth, sea, sky, sprang from a single source: water. It was a radical idea, one that would later earn him the title of the first philosopher. But in Miletus, it was a dangerous notion, for it questioned the divine order upheld by the priests of Apollo. As Thales gazed at the horizon, a young woman approached him. Her name was Lysandra, a weaver's daughter with a sharp mind and a curiosity that rivaled his own. She had heard of Thales' teachings, clandestine gatherings where he spoke of the world's origins and the patterns that bound it. Lysandra carried a clay tablet under her arm, etched with questions she had dared not voice loud. "Master Thales," she said, her voice steady despite the weight of her words, "they say you claim the gods are but stories, that water is the mother of all things. Is this true?" Thales turned to her, his eyes softening. "Not stories, Lysandra, but explanations. The gods are names we give to what we do not yet understand. Water is life, rivers carve the earth, rain feeds the fields, and our bodies are sustained by it. Why should it not be the beginning?" Lysandra frowned, her fingers tracing the tablet's edges. But the priests say such thoughts anger Apollo. They say you invite his wrath. Thales chuckled, though there was no mirth in it. Apollo's wrath is a tale to keep men obedient. If I am wrong, let the gods strike me down. But if I am right, then we stand on the cusp of understanding the world as it truly is. Their conversation was interrupted by a commotion in the agora. A crowd had gathered around a man in a crimson robe, his voice booming with authority. It was Cleon, a priest of Apollo, whose influence in Miletus was second only to the city's archon. Cleon's eyes locked onto Thales, and a sneer curled his lips. Thales of Miletus, Cleon bellowed, his staff striking the ground. You poison our city with your blasphemy. You claim the world is ruled by water, not by the will of Zeus or Apollo. Seep, and let the people judge your heresy. The crowd murmured, some nodding in agreement with Cleon, others casting wary glances at Thales. Lysandra stepped back, clutching her tablet, but Thales stood his ground. He was no orator, but his words carried the weight of conviction. Cleon, Thales began, his voice calm but firm. I do not deny the gods. I seek only to know the world they have given us. If water is the source, as I believe, it does not diminish Apollo's light or Zeus's thunder. It merely reveals the order beneath their power. Cleon's face reddened. You speak of order while defying the sacred. The gods created the world, not your water. You are a danger, Thales, and I will see you banished for it. The crowd's murmurs grew louder, and Thales felt the weight of their judgment. Miletus was a city of trade and ideas, but it was also a place where tradition held sway. To challenge the priests was to risk exile, or worse. Yet Thales could not silence his mind. He had seen the stars align, predicted a solar eclipse that had stunned the city years before, and he knew that truth lay not in dogma but in observation. As Cleon rallied the crowd, Lysandra slipped closer to Thales. You must be careful, she whispered. Cleon has the Archon's ear. If they turn against you, no amount of wisdom will save you. Thales nodded, his gaze distant. Wisdom is my only shield. Lysandra, if I am to fall, let it be for seeking truth. That night, under the cover of darkness, Thales met with a small group of followers in a grove outside the city. They were a motley band, merchants, scribes, and a few daring youths like Lysandra, who gathered to hear his teachings. The grove was lit by a single torch, its flame dancing in the breeze. Thales spoke of water, of the earth's tremors, of the stars that moved in predictable arcs. But he also spoke of something deeper, the need to question, to doubt, to seek answers beyond the myths. Among the group was Anaximander, a young man with a restless mind and a talent for drawing maps. Anaximander had been Thales' student for years, and already he was beginning to form his own ideas, ones that would one day surpass his teachers. But tonight, he listened intently, his eyes bright with possibility. Master, your name, Anaximander said. If water is the source, what holds it? What lies beyond the world we see? Thales smiled, the question igniting a spark in his weary heart. That, Anaximander, is the next mystery. Perhaps it is not a thing, but a boundless expanse, an Epiron, as you might call it. We are only at the beginning. As the night deepened, the group dispersed, but Thales lingered in the grove, staring at the stars, He knew Cleon's threats were not idle. The priest would not rest until Thales was silenced, and the city's leaders were swayed by gold and fear. Yet Thales felt no despair. He had planted a seed, one that Lysandra, Anaximander, and others would carry forward. The truth, he believed, could not be banished. Days later, a messenger arrived at Thales' modest home, bearing a summons from the Archon. Cleon had made his move, accusing Thales of impiety and sedition. The trial would be held in the Agora, before the entire city. As Thales prepared to face his accusers, he thought not of his fate, but of the questions he had left unanswered. The world was vast, its secrets infinite, and he was but one man daring to glimpse its truth. The sun rose over Miletus, casting long shadows across the Agora. Thales stepped into the light, ready to defend not just himself, but the very idea of philosophy, a spark that would one day ignite the minds of generations. The Agora of Miletus buzzed with anticipation on a sweltering morning in 58-4 BCE. The trial of Thales had drawn crowds from every corner of the city, merchants, sailors, and even farmers from the surrounding hills. The air was heavy with the scent of roasted barley and the murmur of speculation. At the center of the square stood Thales, his weathered cloak draped over his shoulders, his expression calm despite the accusations of impiety and sedition leveled against him by Cleon, the priest of Apollo. Among the onlookers, a young man named Anaximander clutched a wax tablet, his knuckles white with tension. He was Thales' most devoted student, a map-maker and dreamer, whose mind burned with questions sparked by his teacher's teachings. Anaximander was not like the other youths of Miletus. While his peers trained for war or haggled in the marketplace, he spent his nights sketching the contours of the earth and the paths of the stars. His father, Praxiades, a potter, had little patience for such pursuits, urging him to take up a trade. But Anaximander's mother, Eudoxia, saw in her son a spark of something extraordinary. It was she who had encouraged him to seek out Thales, whose ideas about water as the source of all things had set Miletus abuzz. Now, as Thales faced the Archon's judgment, Anaximander felt a knot of fear in his chest. If his teacher was banished, what would become of the questions that kept him awake at night? The Archon, a stout man named Diocles, raised his hand for silence. His voice carried over the crowd. Tholes of Miletus, you stand accused of denying the gods and spreading dangerous ideas. What say you in your defense? Tholes stepped forward, his gaze steady. I seek only truth. Diocles, I have said that water is the source of all, not to deny the gods, but to understand the world they have shaped. I predicted the eclipse that saved our city from fear. I predicted the eclipse that saved our city from fear. I have guided our ships through storms. If my questions offend, let the gods judge me, not men. Cleon, his crimson robe billowing, scoffed. Your eclipse was trickery, Tholes, and your words are poison. The gods demand order, not your water, and your riddles. Miletus will not tolerate heresy. The crowd erupted, some shouting in support of Cleon, others murmuring in defense of Tholes. Anaximander's heart sank. He knew the city's leaders feared unrest, and Cleon's influence was formidable. Lysandra, the Lysamrodder, the weaver's daughter who had joined Thole's secret gatherings, stood nearby, her eyes darting between Tholes and the Archon. She leaned toward Anaximander and whispered, "We must do something. If they exile him, his teachings will die." Anaximander nodded, but his mind was racing. He was no orator, and his youth made him invisible to the city's elders. Yet he could not stand idly by. As the debate raged, he slipped through the crowd, approaching a group of merchants who had benefited from Thole's predictions of olive harvests. "You know his wisdom," Anaximander urged. "Speak for him, or Miletus will lose its greatest mind." The merchants hesitated, wary of crossing Cleon, but one, a grizzled trader named Hermias, nodded. "Tholes saved my fortunes," he said. "I'll speak." Hermias stepped forward, his voice cutting through the clamor. "Tholes is no heretic. His knowledge has enriched our city. Banish him, and you banish prosperity." The tide of opinion began to shift, but Cleon was unrelenting. He called forth witnesses, priests and devout citizens, who claimed Thole's teachings had sown doubt among the youth. The trial stretched into the afternoon, and Anaximander's hope waned. Finally, Diocles delivered his verdict. Tholes would not be banished, but he was forbidden from teaching publicly. His ideas were to remain confined to private discourse, under penalty of exile. As the crowd dispersed, Tholes approached Anaximander and Lysandra. His face was lined with fatigue, but his eyes still burned with resolve. "This is not the end," he said. "The truth cannot be silenced by decrees. You, Anaximander, must carry the flame." Anaximander felt the weight of those words. He was barely 20, yet Tholes entrusted him with a legacy that could reshape the world. That night, in the same grove where Tholes had taught, Anaximander gathered with Lysandra and a handful of others. The torchlight flickered, casting shadows on the olive trees. "Tholes believes in water," Anaximander said, his voice trembling with conviction. "But I see something beyond. Tholes, what if the source is not a thing like water, but a boundless essence, an apeiron, infinite and eternal, from which all things arise and return?" Lysandra tilted her head, her tablet etched with new questions. "Apeiron. How can something boundless create the world we see?" Anaximander paced, his hands tracing shapes in the air. "Imagine a void, not empty but alive, holding all possibilities. From it come fire, water, earth, air, Surat, air not as separate, but as transformations. The stars, the earth, even us, we are all part of this boundless dance." The group listened, some skeptical, others captivated. Anaximander's ideas were bold, even heretical, but they carried the same fearless curiosity that had defined Tholes. Over the following weeks, Anaximander threw himself into his work. By day, he crafted maps for traders, charting the coasts of Lydia and Egypt. By night, he studied the heavens, using a gnomon to measure the sun's angles. He began to see the earth not as a flat disk, as most believed, but as a cylinder suspended in space, surrounded by celestial rings. It was a vision that would have shocked even Tholes, but Anaximander could not suppress it. Meanwhile, Cleon's influence grew. The priest sensed that Thalia's silence was not the end of the threat. He turned his attention to Anaximander, whose maps and teachings were gaining notice. One evening, as Anaximander worked in his father's workshop, sketching a diagram of the cosmos, two men in dark cloaks appeared at the door. "Cleon wishes to speak with you," one said, his tone leaving no room for refusal. Anaximander followed them to the temple of Apollo, where Cleon awaited. The priest's eyes gleamed in the torchlight. "You are Thales' shadow, boy," Cleon said. "Your apeiron is a blasphemy." Wandus, a step beyond his water. "Cease your teachings, or you will share his fate, or worse." Anaximander's pulse quickened, but he met Cleon's gaze. "I seek only to understand, as Thales does. If my ideas are false, let them be tested by reason, not fear." Cleon's smile was cold. "Reason is a spark that can burn a city. You have been warned." As Anaximander left the temple, his mind churned. He knew Cleon would not stop at threats. The priest's power rested on control, and Anaximander's ideas, like Thales, challenged that foundation. He confided in Lysandra, who urged him to continue in secret. "The grove is safe," she said. "We will protect your work." Over the months, Anaximander's teachings spread quietly. He wrote treatises on papyrus, hiding them in clay jars. He spoke of the apeiron, of the Earth's place in the cosmos, and of life emerging from the sea, a notion that stunned his listeners. Lysandra, now his closest ally, began to record his words, her tablets a testament to a mind that saw beyond the horizon. But danger loomed. One night, as Anaximander returned from the grove, he found his father's workshop in flames. The fire consumed his maps, his tools, and the few writings he had not hidden. Praxeas stood in the ashes, his face grim. "This was Cleon's doing," he said. "Leave Miletus, my son. Your ideas are a curse." Anaximander's heart broke, but he could not abandon his path. With Lysandra's help, he gathered his hidden treatises and prepared to flee. Thales, now a recluse, met him one last time. "You have surpassed me," Thales said, his voice heavy with pride. "Go to Samos, to Athens, anywhere your mind can breathe. The apeiron is yours to explore." As dawn broke, Anaximander boarded a ship, Lysandra at his side. The sea stretched before them, boundless as the ideas he carried. Behind him, Miletus faded, but the spark of philosophy burned brighter than ever, a flame that no priest could extinguish. The island of Samos rose from the Aegean like an emerald crown, its cliffs kissed by the morning sun of 593 BCE. Anaximander and Lysandra stood at the bow of a weathered merchant ship, the salt breeze tugging at their cloak. Miletus was a fading memory, its agora and Cleon's threats left behind in the wake of their escape. The fire that had consumed Anaximander's workshop still haunted him, but the clay jars tucked safely in his satchel, filled with papyrus scrolls outlining his theories of the apeiron and the cosmos, gave him purpose. Lysandra, her tablet clutched tightly, scanned the horizon, her eyes alight with determination. They were exiles now, but Samos promised refuge, a place where ideas might find fertile ground. Samos was no ordinary island, ruled by the ambitious tyrant Polycrates. It was a hub of trade and culture, its harbor bustling with ships from Egypt, Phoenicia, and the distant Black Sea. The city of Samos, nestled between olive groves and vineyards, was famed for its engineers and poets. Its temple of Hera, a marvel of marble and ambition. Anaximander had heard tales of its openness to new ideas, a stark contrast to the rigid traditions of Miletus. Yet he knew that even here, the shadow of orthodoxy loomed, and Cleon's reach might extend across the sea. As the ship docked, Anaximander and Lysandra disembarked, their meager belongings slung over their shoulders. The harbor was a cacophony of voices, merchants haggling, sailors shouting, and the rhythmic clanging of a nearby smithy. A boy, no older than 12, caught Anaximander's eye. He sat cross-legged on a crate, scribbling numbers on a wax tablet, his brow furrowed in concentration. The boy's tunic was patched, but his eyes burned with a quiet intensity. Anaximander paused. Intrigue. "Who is that?" he asked, a nearby vendor, nodding toward the boy. The vendor, a wiry man selling figs, shrugged. "That's Pythagoras, son of Nicarchus the gem cutter. Always counting. That one. Says numbers hold the secrets of the gods." Anaximander exchanged a glance with Lysandra. Numbers as divine secrets? It was a notion that echoed his own thoughts about the Apeiron, though in a language he had not yet explored. He approached the boy, crouching to meet his gaze. "What do you count, young Pythagoras?" Pythagoras looked up, startled but unafraid. "The strings," he said, pointing to a lyre resting nearby. "The lengths make different sounds. I'm finding the pattern." Anaximander smiled. "Pattern and sound. Tell me more." The boy hesitated, then launched into an explanation, his words tumbling over each other. He spoke of ratios, how a string half the length of another produced a note an octave higher, how certain lengths created harmony. Anaximander listened, his mind racing. This child was no mere musician. He was seeking order in the world, just as Anaximander sought it in the cosmos. Lysandra, Anara, ever practical, interrupted. "We need a place to stay." Anaximander, "We can't linger in the harbor." Pythagoras overheard and pointed down a cobbled street. "But father's shop is near the agora. He takes in travelers sometimes. Tell him I sent you." Grateful, Anaximander and Lysandra followed the boy's directions, winding through Samos's narrow streets. Nicarchus, a broad-shouldered man with a gem-encrusted belt, greeted them warily, but softened at his son's name. He offered them a small room above his shop in exchange for work. Anaximander would help with trade calculations, Lysandra with record-keeping. It was a humble start, but it gave them a foothold. Over the following weeks, Anaximander settled into life on Samos. By day, he worked in Nicarchus's shop, his knack for numbers earning the gem cutter's respect. By night, he and Lysandra met in a secluded olive grove, where he refined his theories. He spoke of the earth as a cylinder, floating freely in the boundless Apeiron, unsupported by mythical turtles or pillars. He sketched diagrams of the stars, proposing they were fiery wheels, not gods, their movements governed by unseen laws. Lysandra recorded every word, her tablets piling up, a testament to a mind that refused to be silenced. Pythagoras often joined them, slipping away from his father's shop to listen. The boy's questions were relentless. "If the earth floats," he asked one evening, "why does it not fall? And if your Apeiron is boundless, how can it create order?" Anaximander welcomed the challenge. "The earth stays because it is balanced, equidistant from all things in the cosmos. As for the Apeiron, it is boundless, yet contains all opposites, hot and cold, wet and dry. From their conflict, order emerges. Pythagoras nodded slowly, his tablet filled with numbers. Like my strings, the ratios are opposites, but they make harmony. Lysandra smiled. You two are alike, seeing patterns where others see chaos. But Samos was not the haven they had hoped. Polycrates, the tyrant, was a patron of art and engineering, but his rule was iron-fisted. His spies roamed the city, and whispers of dissent were swiftly crushed. Anaximander's teachings, though confined to the grove, began to spread. Sailors spoke of a mapmaker who claimed the earth was a cylinder. Poets whispered of a boundless source that rivaled the gods. The temple of Hera, led by a priestess named Calliope, took notice. One evening, as Anaximander taught in the grove, a cloaked figure emerged from the shadows. It was Calliope, her silver hair gleaming in the moonlight, her presence commanding. You are the Milesian, she said, her voice low. Your words stir the city. Polycrates tolerates ideas, but not those that threaten the gods. Anaximander stood, his heart pounding. I seek truth, not rebellion. The Apiron does not deny Hera, it seeks to understand her world. Calliope's eyes narrowed. Truth is a blade, mapmaker. Wield it carefully, or it will cut you. I will watch you. The warning chilled Anaximander, but he could not stop. His ideas were no longer his own. They belonged to Lysandra, to Pythagoras, to the handful of followers who gathered in the grove. He began to write a book, a prose treatise called On Nature, pouring his theories into words. Lysandra helped, her steady hand transcribing his thoughts. Pythagoras, too, contributed, sketching diagrams of his harmonic ratios alongside Anaximander's cosmic maps. But danger closed in. One night, as Anaximander returned from the grove, he found Nasarchus waiting, his face grim. One Nasarchus waiting, his face grim. A man came to the shop today, asking about you. He wore Cleon's sigil. Miletus has not forgotten you. Anaximander's blood ran cold. Cleon had tracked him across the sea, his vendetta unrelenting. Lysandra, overhearing, urged caution. We must hide your writings. If Cleon's men find them, they'll burn more than a workshop. With Pythagoras's help, they concealed the scrolls in a cave near the coast, sealed behind a boulder. The boy proved resourceful, his small frame slipping through narrow crevices to secure their work. Your Aperon is like my numbers, Pythagoras said as they worked. It's everywhere, but only a few see it. Anaximander ruffled the boy's hair. Keep seeking, Pythagoras. Your numbers may outshine my boundless dreams. Days later, disaster struck. Polycrates summoned Anaximander to his palace, a sprawling complex adorned with statues and fountains. The tyrant, reclining on a golden couch, studied Anaximander with a mix of curiosity and suspicion. Your maps are fine work, Polycrates said, but your talk of a cylinder earth and a boundless source unsettles my priests. Cleon of Miletus has sent word, demanding your return. What say you? Anaximander stood tall, his voice steady. I am no traitor, Lord. I seek only to know the world. If my ideas offend, let them be tested by reason, not chains. Polycrates laughed, but his eyes were cold. Reason is a luxury, mapmaker. For now, you may stay, but silence your teachings. Samos is mine, not yours. As Anaximander left the palace, he knew their time on Samos was short. Cleon's reach, Polycrates' whims, and Calliope's watchful gaze formed a tightening noose. That night, he and Lysandra made a decision. They would leave for Athens, a city said to welcome philosophers. Pythagoras, tearful but resolute, vowed to continue his own work. "I'll find you one day," he said, clutching his tablet. "The numbers will lead me." Under cover of darkness, Anaximander and Lysandra boarded a ship bound for the mainland, their scrolls hidden in a false-bottomed crate. As Samos faded into the mist, Anaximander gazed at the stars, their patterns a reminder of the boundless ape era. The journey ahead was uncertain, but the spark of philosophy burned bright, carried by two exiles and a boy whose numbers would one day echo through the ages. The ship creaked as it docked in the bustling port of Piraeus, the gateway to Athens. In the spring of 502 BC, Anaximander and Lysandra stepped onto the quay, their cloaks dusted with sea salt, their eyes weary but resolute. The journey from Samos had been perilous, with storms battering the vessel and whispers of Cleon's agents haunting every port. Their precious cargo, clay jars filled with papyrus scrolls detailing Anaximander's theories of the Aperon and the cosmos, remained hidden in a false-bottomed crate. Athens, with its burgeoning agora and restless spirit, promised a new beginning, but Anaximander knew that even here, the pursuit of truth carried risks. Athens was not yet the beacon of philosophy it would become. Under the rule of the Archon Camus, the city was a patchwork of rival clans, its politics a tangle of ambition and tradition. The Agora teemed with traders, poets, and priests, while the Acropolis loomed above, its temples dedicated to Athena and Poseidon. Anaximander and Lysandra, strangers in a city of cliques, sought shelter in a modest insula near the Agora, renting a room from a widowed potter named Chloe, in exchange for lodging. Anaximander offered to map trade routes for her merchant son, while Lysandra etched records on clay tablets, her skill with words earning Chloe's quiet admiration. By day, Anaximander explored the city, his maps gaining notice among traders who valued his precision. By night, he and Lysandra resumed their work in a cramped attic, lit by a single oil lamp. Anaximander refined his treatise on nature, adding chapters on the origins of life, proposing that humans arose from fish-like creatures in the sea, a notion so radical that even Lysandra hesitated to transcribe it. "This will shock Athens," she warned, her stylus poised above a tablet. "They honor Athena, not your sea-born ancestors." Anaximander smiled faintly. "Let them be shocked. The Aperon cares not for their gods. It is the source, and we are its children, whether from sea or sky." Their quiet routine was disrupted one evening in the Agora, where a crowd had gathered around a man in a tattered cloak. He was Xenophanes, a poet from Colophon, his voice rising in a rhythmic chant that blended mockery with wisdom. His words caught Anaximander's ear. "Men craft gods in their own image. Ethiopians make them dark. Thracians give them blue eyes. If oxen could paint, their gods would low in the fields." The crowd laughed, but some scowled, particularly a priest of Athena named Theron, whose staff struck the ground in protest. "You mock the divine, wanderer," Theron shouted. Athena guards this city, not your jests. Xenophans, undaunted, met Theron's gaze. I mock only what men invent. The true divine is one, eternal, unlike the squabbling gods of Olympus. Look to the sky, priest, not your statues. Anaximander, intrigued, approached Xenophans after the crowd dispersed. Your words echo my thoughts, he said. I am Anaximander, late of Miletus and Samos. I seek the source of all things, a boundless aperon, not gods shaped by human hands. Xenophan's eyes, sharp despite his weathered face, studied Anaximander. Aperon, use, a bold idea. I call the divine a unity, unchanging, but I care less for sources than for truth. Men cling to myths like children to toys. Come, share a cup of wine, and we'll trade heresies. Lysandra, ever cautious, hesitated, but Anaximander accepted. They followed Xenophans to a tavern near the Ceramicus, where the poet spoke of his travels from Ionia to Magna Graecia, where he had seen men worship fire, sea, and stone. All claim their gods are true, Xenophans said, yet none can prove it. Knowledge is a shadow, Anaximander. We grasp at it, but it slips away. Anaximander leaned forward, his voice low. Yet we must try. The Aperon is my shadow, boundless, eternal, the source of earth and stars. I see the earth as a cylinder, floating in the cosmos, not resting on myths. Xenophans raised an eyebrow. A cylinder, you'll anger more than priests with that. But I like your fire. Tell me, what drives you to chase such shadows? Lysandra answered before Anaximander could. In Miletus, they burned his work. In Samos, they threatened his life. We flee, but we carry the truth with us. Xenophans nodded, his expression softening. Then you're kin to me. I've been driven from cities for my songs. Athens is no haven. The Theron and his kind guard their gods like gold. And there are whispers of a Milesian priest seeking a mapmaker. Anaximander's heart sank. Cleon's shadow had followed them to Athens. He confided in Xenophans, sharing the tale of Miletus, Samos, and the scrolls they guarded. The poet listened, then offered a suggestion. There's a merchant, Leandros, who hosts thinkers in his villa. He's no friend of priests. Seek him out, but guard your scrolls. Athens is a city of ears. Following Xenophans' advice, Anaximander and Lysandra visited Leandros, a wealthy trader with a love for ideas. His villa, perched on a hill overlooking the city, was a haven of scrolls and statues. Its courtyard filled with men debating poetry, mathematics, and the stars. Leandros welcomed them, intrigued by Anaximander's maps and Lysandra's tablets. You'll teach here, he declared. But quietly. Theron's spies are everywhere. Under Leandros's protection, Anaximander began to share his ideas, speaking of the Apeiron and the cylinder earth, to a small circle of listeners. Xenophans joined them, his poems challenging the gods' anthropomorphism, while Lysandra recorded their discussions. The prayer tablets a growing archive of philosophy. Among the group was a young sculptor named Phidias, whose questions about proportion hinted at a mind that would one day shape Athens' greatest monuments. But Cleon's pursuit intensified. One night, as Anaximander taught in Leandros's courtyard, a cloaked figure was caught lurking near the villa. The man, a hired thug, carried a sigil of Apollo, proof of Cleon's reach. Zendros, furious, doubled the villa's guards, but Anaximander knew they could not stay. "We must move the scrolls," he told Lysandra. "If Cleon finds them, our work is lost." With Xenophane's help, they hid the scrolls in a cave outside Athens, near the slopes of Mount Hymettus. The poet, ever restless, offered to stay and guard them. "I'm a wanderer," he said. "No city holds me. Your Apion deserves to live." Anaximander hesitated, but Lysandra agreed. "He's right. We must keep moving. Athens is a spark, but it's not ready for us." As they prepared to leave, Theron struck. The priest, enraged by rumors of Anaximander's teachings, rallied a mob in the agora, accusing Landros of harboring heretics. Anaximander and Lysandra slipped away under cover of night, boarding a ship bound for Corinth. The Zandros promised to protect their followers, while Xenophanes vanished into the hills, the scrolls safe in his care. As the ship sailed from Piraeus, Anaximander stood at the stern, the lights of Athens fading. Lysandra, beside him, clutched a new tablet, etched with Xenophanes' latest poem. "One God, greatest among gods and men, neither in form like mortals, nor in thought." Anaximander smiled, the words a reminder of the boundless quest they shared. Corinth lay ahead, a city of commerce and intrigue, where new allies and enemies awaited. The flame of philosophy, kindled in Miletus, now burned across the Aegean, carried by exiles whose ideas would not be silenced. The city of Corinth glittered like a jewel in the fading light of 50 BCE. Its Sithmus, a bridge between the Peloponnese and the mainland, alive with the pulse of trade. Anaximander and Lysandra disembarked from their ship in the port of Lacaire, their cloaks heavy with the dust of travel. The Aegean crossing from Athens had been tense, with every shadow on the horizon a potential sign of Cleon's agents. Their scrolls, left in Xenophanes' care near Athens, were a weight lifted, but Anaximander felt their absence keenly, as if part of his soul remained in that Hymettus cave. Lysandra, her tablet tucked under her arm, scanned the bustling docks, her eyes sharp for danger. Corinth was a city of opportunity, but also of treachery, where wealth and power clashed like waves against its cliffs. Corinth, under the rule of the Bacchiad clan, was a crossroads of cultures. Its agora brimmed with merchants from Persia, Egypt, and the distant colonies of Magna Graecia, their stalls laden with spices, amber, and bronzework. The temple of Aphrodite, perched on the Acrocorinth, cast a long shadow, its priestesses wielding influence that rivaled the city's oligarchs. Anaximander and Lysandra, exiles once more, sought refuge in a modest inn near the agora, bartering their skills, Anaximander's maps and Lysandra's record-keeping for a room and a meager share of barley bread. The innkeeper, a gruff woman named Thalia, eyed them warily but asked no questions, her only concern the coin they could provide. By day, Anaximander worked for a merchant named Critias, charting routes across the isthmus and into the Saronic Gulf. His maps, precise and innovative, earned him a reputation among traders, but he kept his philosophical musings guarded, mindful of Cleon's reach and Corinth's volatile politics. Lysandra, meanwhile, transcribed trade records, her tablets doubling as a secret archive for Anaximander's ideas. In stolen moments, they discussed the Aperon, Anaximander refining his vision of a boundless source that birthed the cosmos through the interplay of opposites, hot and cold, wet and dry. "The earth floats," he told Lysandra one night, "because it is balanced in the Aperon, like a leaf on a stream." Lysandra frowned, her stylus pausing. A stream implies movement. Anaximander, your Aperon feels static, eternal. What if the cosmos is not balanced, but ever-changing? Her words lingered, a seed of doubt in Anaximander's mind. That doubt grew when they encountered a young man in the agora, his voice sharp and enigmatic, addressing a small crowd near a fountain. He was Heraclitus, barely 20, from the nearby city of Ephesus, his dark eyes burning with intensity. His words were cryptic, like riddles carved in stone. You cannot step into the same river twice, for new waters ever flow. All is flux, all is change. The crowd murmured, some intrigued, others scoffing. A merchant in a saffron robe, his fingers heavy with rings, challenged Heraclitus. Change. The gods are eternal, boy, as is Corinth's wealth. Your river talk is nonsense. Heraclitus smiled, a flicker of disdain in his gaze. Your gold flows like water, merchant. From hand to hand, nothing endures but change itself. Even your gods are born of human dreams, shifting with the tides of belief. Anaximander, drawn by the young man's boldness, approached after the crowd dispersed. I am Anaximander, once of Miletus, he said. Your talk of flux intrigues me. I see the cosmos as born from a boundless Aperon, a source beyond change. How does your river fit with such a vision? Heraclitus studied Anaximander, his expression unreadable. Aperon, a fine word, but too still. The cosmos is a fire, ever burning, ever transforming. Your boundless source is my flux, but you seek to freeze it in thought. Join me tonight, mapmaker, and we'll wrestle with truth. Lysandra, cautious as ever, whispered a warning. He's reckless. Anaximander, his words will draw enemies, and we have enough. But Anaximander was captivated. That evening, they met Heraclitus in a grove outside Corinth, where the Dialkos, the stone track used to drag ships across the isthmus, gleamed under the stars. Heraclitus sat by a stream, tossing pebbles into the water, each ripple a metaphor for his philosophy. All is one, he said, but that one is never the same. Fire, water, air, they shift, they fight, they become each other. Your Aperon is a dream of unity, but the world is a war of opposites. Anaximander countered, his voice steady. Opposites, yes, but they arise from the Aperon, which holds them in balance. The earth, a cylinder, floats because of this equilibrium, not your ceaseless flux. Heraclitus laughed, a sound like the crackle of flames. Balance. Look at this stream, Anaximander. It carves the earth. It shifts the stones. There is no balance, only strife. The logos, the reason behind it all, is change itself. Lysandra, listening intently, etched their debate onto her tablet, her mind torn between Anaximander's boundless vision and Heraclitus' fiery flux. The young Ephesians' ideas were intoxicating, but dangerous in a city where stability was prized. Corinth's Bacchiads tolerated poets and thinkers, but only so long as they served the city's wealth. Heraclitus, with his disdain for convention, was a spark in a tinderbox. Their discussions continued over weeks, drawing a small circle of listeners, traders, sailors, and a young poet named Irene, whose verses wove Heraclitus' flux into tales of love and loss. Anaximander shared his theories cautiously, speaking of the Aperon and the origins of life, while Heraclitus challenged him at every turn, his riddles sharpening Anaximander's thought. Lysandra, ever the scribe, recorded their ideas, her tablets a bridge between two visions of the cosmos. But Cleon's shadow loomed. One morning, as Anaximander worked in Critias's warehouse, a stranger appeared, his cloak bearing the sigil of Apollo. The seas, a stranger appeared, his cloak bearing the sigil of Apollo. "You are the Milesian," the man said, his voice low. "Cleon knows you are here. Surrender your writings, or Corinth will burn as Miletus did." Anaximander's heart raced, but he feigned ignorance. "I am a mapmaker, nothing more. Tell your master to seek his heretics elsewhere." The man left, but the threat lingered. Anaximander confided in Heraclitus, who scoffed. "Cleon is a dog barking at the wind." Hesin confided in Heraclitus, who scoffed. "Cleon is a dog barking at the wind. Let him come, my flux will outlast his fire." Lysandra was less cavalier. "We must leave. Anaximander, Corinth is no safer than Samos or Athens. We need allies, a place to rebuild." Irene, the poet, offered a solution. "My cousin trades in Syracuse, in Magna Graecia. It's far from Cleon's reach, and the colonies welcome thinkers. The colonies welcome thinkers. I'll arrange passage." Anaximander hesitated, reluctant to flee again, but Heraclitus's words echoed in his mind. All is flux. Change was inevitable, and survival meant embracing it. They began preparations, but danger struck first. One night, as they met in the grove, a band of armed men attacked, their blades glinting in the moonlight. Cleon's agents had found them. Heraclitus fought like a man possessed, wielding a staff with surprising skill, while Anaximander shielded Lysandra, her tablets clutched to her chest. Irena's shouts drew nearby sailors, who joined the fray, driving the attackers off. Bloodied but alive, Anaximander realized Corinth was no longer tenable. "Syracuse," he said, his voice firm. "We leave at dawn." Heraclitus, bruised but unbowed, chose to stay. "My river is here," he said, "but your Epeiran belongs to the world." Anaximander, "Carry it far, and let it burn." As the sun rose, Anaximander and Lysandra boarded a ship bound for Syracuse, Irene at their side. The isthmus receded, its temples and tensions fading into the haze. Lysandra etched a final tablet, capturing Heraclitus' parting words. "The Logos is fire, and fire is life." Anaximander gazed at the sea, its endless motion a mirror of Heraclitus' flux. Yet within it, he saw the boundless Epeiran, eternal and unchanging. Syracuse awaited, a new horizon for a philosophy that refused to die. The port of Syracuse shimmered under the Sicilian sun in the autumn of 580 BCE, its waters reflecting the white cliffs and terracotta roofs of a city in its prime. Anaximander, Lysandra, and Irene stepped onto the bustling quay, their bodies weary from the long voyage from Corinth, but their spirits buoyed by the promise of a new start. The attack in Corinth's grove lingered like a shadow, a reminder of Cleon's relentless pursuit. But Syracuse, far across the Ionian Sea, felt like a world apart. Their scrolls remained hidden in Xenophanes' cave near Athens, a loss Anaximander felt keenly. Yet Lysandra's tablets, etched with his latest thoughts, were a spark of hope. Syracuse, a colony of Corinthian settlers, was a melting pot of Greeks, Phoenicians, and native Sazons, its agora alive with the clamor of trade and ideas. Syracuse was ruled by a council of wealthy landowners, its politics a delicate balance of Greek tradition and colonial pragmatism. The city's wealth flowed from its fertile fields and strategic harbor, but its temples to Apollo, Artemis, and the local hero Adrastus held sway over the hearts of its people. Anaximander and his companions found shelter in a modest house owned by Arena's cousin, Nicias, a wine merchant with a sprawling villa on the city's outskirts. Nicias, a jovial man with a penchant for poetry, welcomed them warmly, offering work in his trade, Anaximander mapping shipping routes, Lysandra keeping records, and Arenan composing verses for his clients' feasts. In return, they had a roof, food, and a chance to rebuild. By day, Anaximander charted the coasts of Sicily and the Tyrrhenian Sea, his maps earning Nicias's praise and the attention of Syracuse's merchants. Lysandra, her tablets ever at hand, transcribed trade logs while secretly recording Anaximander's evolving theories. He spoke of the ape, Aryan, as a boundless source, eternal yet dynamic, giving rise to the cosmos through the dance of opposites. Stars are fires, he told Lysandra one evening, sketching a diagram in the dust, set in rings around a cylindrical earth, floating in the ape Aryan's embrace. Irenin, listening, wove his ideas into her poetry, her verses blending the boundless with the beauty of Sicily's olive groves. Your ape Aran sings, she said, but Syracuse is a city of gods. Be cautious. Anaximander, the priests here are as fierce as Cleon. Her warning proved prescient. One afternoon in the Agora, Anaximander overheard a heated debate near the temple of Apollo. Young man, no older than 18, stood before a crowd. His voice calm but commanding. He was Parmenides, a native of Elea, a nearby Greek colony, visiting Syracuse with his father, a wealthy landowner. Parmenides' words were startling. What is, what is not, cannot be. Change is an illusion, for being is one, eternal, unchanging. The crowd murmured, unchanging. The crowd murmured, some nodding, others scoffing. A priest of Apollo, a stern man named Damocles, stepped forward, his staff raised. You deny the gods' will. Boy, the world changes. Crops grow, seas rage. Your being is blasphemy. Parmenides, unflinching, replied, the gods you worship are shadows of thought. True being is whole, like a sphere, without beginning or end. Your changes are but appearances, not truth. Anaximander, intrigued, approached Parmenides after the debate. I am Anaximander, once of Miletus, he said. Your talk of being challenges my aperan, a boundless source that bursts the cosmos through opposites. How can you claim change is an illusion when the stars move and rivers flow? Parmenides' eyes, clear and piercing, met Anaximander's. Your aperan is a noble thought, but it bends to the senses, which deceive. Reason alone reveals truth. What is one, indivisible. Your opposites, your flux, they are dreams of a mind trapped in appearance. Come to my father's house tonight, and we'll seek the real. Lysandra, ever wary, whispered, he's bold, but his words will anger the priests. We've seen this before, Anaximander. But Anaximander was drawn to Parmenides' clarity, a counterpoint to Heracles's fiery flux. That evening, they joined Parmenides at his father's villa, a grand estate overlooking Syracuse's harbor. Over cups of diluted wine, Parmenides elaborated, his voice steady as stone. Being is eternal. He said, it cannot come from nothing, nor pass into nothing. Your aperan, Anaximander, implies a beginning, a change, but true being has no such limits. It simply is. Anaximander countered, his mind racing. Yet I see the world in motion. Stars turn, seasons shift. My aperan holds these changes, a source beyond them. How can you deny what we see? Parmenides smiled faintly. What we see is not what is. The senses lie, but reason does not. Your cylindrical earth, your fiery stars, they are thoughts, not truth. Being is one, and we must trust the logos of the mind. Anaren, inspired, began to weave Parmenides' ideas into a poem, her verses capturing the stillness of his vision. Lysandra, however, remained skeptical, her tablets filled with notes on both thinkers. Parmenides' being is rigid, she told Anaximander later, like a statue. Your aperan breathes, even if it's boundless, but both of you risk the priest's wrath. Their debates continued, drawing a small circle of listeners, merchants, poets, and a young physician named Alcmaeon, who questioned Parmenides' denial of change by citing the body's cycles. Anaximander shared his theories sparingly, mindful of Syracuse's watchful eyes, but Parmenides was less cautious, his public talks in the agora growing bolder. Damocles, the priest, took notice, and whispers of heresy spread. Meanwhile, Cleon's shadow crept closer. One evening, as Anaximander worked in Nicias's warehouse, a sailor delivered a message. A Milesian priest had arrived in Syracuse, seeking a mapmaker and his scribe. Anaximander's heart sank. Cleon's vendetta had crossed the sea. Undeterred by distance, he confided in Parmenides, who listened impassively. Your aperon is a thought, Parmenides said, and thoughts cannot be burned. Let Cleon chase shadows. Truth is unchanging. Lysandra was less philosophical. We need a plan, she urged. Nicias can protect us, but not forever. We should send word to Xenophanes. Ensure our scrolls are safe. Irene, ever resourceful, arranged for a trusted merchant to carry a message to Athens, seeking Xenophanes. But before a reply could come, Damocles struck. The priest, enraged by Parmenides' teachings, accused him of impiety in Syracuse's council, implicating Anaximander as a foreign agitator. Nicias, loyal but cautious, warned them to flee. The council fears unrest, he said. Damocles has their ear, and Cleon's gold strengthens his voice. Anaximander, Lysandra, and Irene prepared to leave, but Parmenides refused. I will face the council, he declared. Truth does not flee. Being is my shield. The hearing was a storm of accusations. Damocles branded Parmenides a heretic, his denial of change an affront to Apollo's order. Anaximander, called as a witness, defended his friend, speaking of the aperon as a quest for understanding, not a rejection of the divine. The council, swayed by Nicias's influence and the merchants' reliance on Anaximander's maps, spared them exile but banned public teachings. Parmenides, unbowed, vowed to continue in secret. That night, Anaximander and Lysandra made a decision. Syracuse, like Corinth, was a spark, but its flames were too wild. They would sail for Croton, another colony in Magna Graecia, rumored to welcome thinkers. Irene, torn, chose to stay with Nicias, her poetry a bridge to Syracuse's future. Parmenides, too, remained, his eyes fixed on the eternal. Your Aperine seeks the source, he told Anaximander. My being is the end. We walk different paths, but they meet in truth. As their ship sailed from Syracuse, Anaximander stood at the bow, the sea stretching boundless before him. Lysandra, beside him, etched a tablet with Parmenides' words. What is, and cannot be. The Aperine, Anaximander thought, was neither flux nor stillness, but a mystery that held both. Croton lay ahead, a new horizon for a philosophy that burned brighter with every trial, carried by exiles whose ideas would not be quenched. The shores of Croton, a thriving Greek colony in Magna Graecia, gleamed under the golden light of 57 or 9 BC. Anaximander and Lysandra stepped off a weathered merchant ship, their cloaks stiff with salt and their hearts heavy with the weight of their journey. Syracuse, with its vibrant agora and Parmenides' unyielding vision of being, was behind them, but the shadow of Cleon's pursuit followed like a storm cloud. Their scrolls, still hidden in Xenophanes' cave near Athens, were a distant anchor. But Lysandra's tablets, etched with Anaximander's latest musings on the Aperine, were a lifeline. Croton, famed for its athletes and mystics, promised refuge, yet Anaximander knew that even here, their ideas would be tested by the city's unique blend of piety and ambition. Croton was a city of contrasts, its wealth built on trade and agriculture, its spirit shaped by a reverence for discipline and order. Ruled by a council of aristocrats, it boasted a grand gymnasium and a temple to Apollo, whose priests held sway over the city's moral life. The agora buzzed with merchants, philosophers, and athletes, their voices mingling with the scent of olive oil and myrrh. Anaximander and Lysandra found lodging in a modest house owned by a physician named Democedes, who had heard of Anaximander's maps through Syracuse's traders. In exchange for shelter, Anaximander charted routes for Democedes' herb shipments, while Lysandra recorded his medical observations, her tablets doubling as a secret archive for their philosophical work. By day, Anaximander worked diligently, his maps guiding ships to Sicily and the Black Sea, earning Democedes' trust. By night, he and Lysandra retreated to a small courtyard, where he refined his theories under the stars. The Aperine, he argued, was the boundless source of all things, a dynamic unity that birthed the cosmos through the interplay of opposites. The Earth is a cylinder, he told Lysandra, tracing its shape in the dirt, suspended in the Aperine, surrounded by fiery rings we call stars. Life itself began in the sea, evolving from simple forms to man. Lysandra, her stylus poised, nodded but challenged him. Your Aperine is vast, Anaximander, but it feels distant. Croton's people seek meaning in rituals, in numbers. How will you reach them? Her question was answered sooner than expected. One evening in the agora, a crowd gathered around a man in a white robe, his voice resonant with authority. It was Pythagoras, no longer the boy Anaximander had met in Samos, but a man of 26, his eyes alight with a fervor that drew followers like moths to a flame. Pythagoras spoke of numbers as the essence of the cosmos, their ratios governing music, The stars and the soul, all is number, he declared, holding up a lyre. The harmony of strings reflects the harmony of the heavens. Live by these ratios, and you align with the divine. The crowd, a mix of merchants, athletes, and priests, listened raptly. A young woman, her hair braided with gold, questioned him. Numbers, how can they rule the world when Apollo's will shapes our fates? Pythagoras smiled, his voice soothing yet commanding. Apollo speaks through numbers, my friend. The intervals of music, the cycles of the stars, these are his language. Join my brotherhood, and we will uncover the cosmos' secrets together. Anaximander, standing at the crowd's edge, felt a surge of recognition. He approached Pythagoras after the talk, Lysandra at his side. Pythagoras of Samos, Anaximander said, I am Anaximander, once your teacher's student. Your numbers echo my Aperon, a boundless source that births the cosmos. Yet I see change and opposites, not harmony alone. Shall we debate as we did in the grove? Pythagoras's face lit with warmth. Anaximander, the gods have brought us together again. Your Aperon is a bold vision, but numbers are its skeleton. Come to my school tomorrow, and we'll test our truths. Lysandra, cautious, whispered, his school is a cult. Anaximander, they swear oaths, follow strict rules. Be careful. But Anaximander was eager to reconnect. The next day, they visited Pythagoras's school, a compound on Croton's outskirts, surrounded by olive trees and guarded by initiates in white robes. The Pythagorean brotherhood was unlike anything Anaximander had seen. A community of men and women, bound by vegetarianism, silence, and a reverence for mathematics. Pythagoras welcomed them, leading them to a courtyard where students calculated ratios and debated the soul's immortality. Your Aperon is a poet's dream, Pythagoras said, sketching a geometric figure in the sand, but numbers are precise. The cosmos is a harmony of ratios, 4 to 3 for the musical fourth, 10 for the perfect tetractys. Your cylinder Earth, your fiery stars, they obey these laws. Anaximander countered, his voice firm. Numbers describe, Pythagoras, but the Aperon creates. It is boundless, beyond your ratios, giving rise to opposites that clash and form the world. Your harmony is beautiful, but it denies the strife I see. The debate drew a crowd of Pythagoreans, some nodding at their master's words, others intrigued by Anaximander's boldness. A woman named Thyno, Pythagoras's wife and a scholar in her own right, joined the discussion. Your Aperon feels alive, she said, but numbers give it form. Perhaps both are true, a boundless source shaped by harmony. Lysandra, transcribing the exchange, found Thyno's words compelling, a bridge between the two visions. Over weeks, Anaximander and Pythagoras debated often, their ideas sharpening each other like flint on steel. Anaximander shared his theories of evolution and the cosmos, while Pythagoras taught him the mathematics of celestial orbits. Lysandra recorded every word, her tablets a tapestry of boundless and numerical truths. But Croton was not a sanctuary. The Pythagorean school, with its secretive rituals, unnerved the city's priests, particularly Eudoxus, a stern devotee of Apollo. Eudoxus saw Pythagoras's growing influence and Anaximander's foreign ideas as threats to Croton's order. Worse, Cleon's agents arrived, their presence signaled by a fire in Democedes' warehouse, where Anaximander's maps were stored. The physician, shaken, urged caution. Eudoxus and your Milesian hunter are allies now, he said. Hide your work, or leave. Anaximander confided in Pythagoras, who offered protection. Join my brotherhood, he urged. Your Aperon will live through us, safe from priests and fires. Lysandra opposed the idea. Their oaths bind you. Anaximander, your Aperon is free, not chained to numbers or secrets. Torn, Anaximander hesitated, but danger forced his hand. One night, as he and Lysandra met with Pythagoras, Eudoxus' men attacked, wielding torches and blades. The Pythagoreans fought back, their discipline turning the tide, but the compound was damaged, and Anaximander's staplets were nearly lost. In the chaos, the Untold hid Lysandra's work, her quick thinking saving their legacy. Pythagoras, furious, vowed to confront Eudoxus, but Anaximander saw the truth. Croton, like Syracuse, was a spark, not a flame. We must go, he told Lysandra. Thes, the colonies are too volatile. Perhaps Ionia again, or Crete. Theano, overhearing, suggested a destination. Try Rhegium, south of here. It's smaller, less priest-ridden. My brother trades there, he'll help. Pythagoras, reluctant, gave them his blessing. Your Aperon is a seed, Anaximander. Plant it far, but no Croton will remember you. Numbers will carry your name. As dawn broke, Anaximander and Lysandra boarded a ship for Rhegium, their tablets hidden in a sealed amphora. Croton's cliffs faded, but Pythagoras' voice echoed in Anaximander's mind. All is number. The Aperon, he thought, was more boundless. Alive, a mystery no ratio could contain. Rhegium lay ahead, a new horizon for a philosophy that burned through every trial, carried by exiles whose truths would not be silenced. The port of Rhegium, a modest Greek colony on the toe of Magna Graecia, hummed with quiet vitality in the spring of 578 BC. Anaximander and Lysandra stepped onto the sun-warmed quay, their cloaks frayed from months of travel, their spirits tempered by the trials of Croton. The attack on Pythagoras' compound lingered in their minds, a stark reminder of Cleon's unrelenting pursuit. Their scrolls, still hidden in Xenophon's cave near Athens, were a distant dream, but Lysandra's tablets, concealed in a sealed amphora, carried Anaximander's evolving vision of the Aperon. Rhegium, smaller and less turbulent than Syracuse or Croton, offered a flicker of hope, a place to breathe, to think, to rebuild. Rhegium was a city of balance, its economy tied to fishing, trade, and the fertile slopes of the Aspromonte Mountains. Ruled by a council of elders, it lacked the grandeur of Croton but boasted a temple to Artemis, whose priestesses wielded subtle influence. The agora was a lively mosaic of Greek settlers, Sicel natives, and traders from Carthage, their voices blending with the tang of saltwater and rosemary. Anaximander and Lysandra found refuge through the Theano's brother, Zaleucus, a shipwright with a weathered face and a love for tales of the sea. Zaleucus offered them a small room above his workshop, asking only that Anaximander map coastal routes and Lysandra record his trade dealings. It was a humble arrangement, but it suited their need for anonymity. By day, Anaximander charted the currents between Rhegium and Sicily, his maps guiding Zaleucus' ships through treacherous straits. His precision earned the shipwright's trust, and soon, merchants sought his work, unaware of the philosopher beneath the mapmaker's guise. Lysandra, her tablets ever at hand, transcribed cargo logs while secretly etching Anaximander's thoughts. In their quiet moments, he spoke of the Aperan as a boundless source, eternal yet alive, giving rise to the cosmos through the clash of opposites. The earth floats, he told Lysandra, sketching a cylinder in the sand, held by the Aperan's equilibrium, its stars fiery wheels in cosmic rings. Lysandra, her stylus pausing, challenged him. Your Aperan is vast, Anaximander, but resumes people pray to Artemis for harmony. Not your boundless strife. How will you share this without drawing Cleon's eye? Her question hung unanswered until one evening in the Agora, where a young man captivated a small crowd with a blend of poetry and prophecy. He was Empedocles, a native of nearby Acragas, barely 20, his voice rich with passion as he spoke of the world's creation. 4 roots: earth, air, fire, water, formal things, he declared, his hands tracing shapes in the air. Love binds them, strife tears them apart, a cosmic dance that spins the stars and stirs the sea. The crowd, a mix of fishermen, traders, and a few Artemis priestesses, listened, some nodding, others frowning. A merchant, his tunic stained with wine, scoffed. Roots, love and strife, the gods shape the world. Poet, not your fancies. Empedocles, undaunted, smiled. The gods are names for what we see. Love unites, strife divides, and the 4 roots are their tools. Look to the earth's trembling, the fire's roar. Do they not speak of this dance? Anaximander, drawn by the young man's words, approached after the crowd dispersed. I am Anaximander, once of Miletus, he said. Your 4 roots echo my Aperan, a boundless source that births the cosmos through opposites. But your love and strife, how do they fit with a single source? Empedocles' eyes, bright with curiosity, met Anaximander's. Aperan, a grand vision, map-maker. My roots are its children, shaped by love's embrace and strife's conflict. The cosmos is no still unity, but a cycle, ever turning. Join me at my uncle's house tonight, and we'll weave our truths. Lysandra, wary as always, whispered. He's charismatic, Anaximander, but his boldness will stir trouble. We've seen this in every city. But Anaximander was intrigued. That evening, they visited Empedocles at his uncle's modest villa, where the young poet-physician shared wine and ideas. The 4 roots are eternal, Empedocles said, but love and strife drive their mingling. Earth becomes bone, water blood, air breath, fire warmth. Your Aperan, Anaximander, is the womb, but my forces give it motion. Anaximander countered, his mind alight. Your roots are vivid, Empedocles, but my Aperan is beyond them, a boundless unity that needs no love or strife to create. The cosmos arises from its own nature, opposites clashing in its depths. Empedocles leaned forward, his voice a melody, yet without love. How do stars form, without strife? How do mountains rise? Your Aperan is a seed, mine a song. Together, they might sing. Lysandra, transcribing their debate, found Empedocles' imagery compelling, a poetic counterpoint to Anaximander's abstract vision. Over weeks, they met often, joined by a small circle of listeners, sailors, a Sicel healer named Mara, and a young poet named Cullius, whose verses wove Empedocles' elements into tales of gods and heroes. Anaximander shared his theories cautiously, speaking of the cylinder earth and life's origins in the sea. while Empedocles countered with tales of cosmic cycles, where love and strife reigned in turn. But Rhigium was not a safe haven. The temple of Artemis, led by a priestess named Selene, grew wary of Empedocles' teachings, which drew crowds away from her rituals. Selene, a shrewd woman with eyes like polished amber, saw Anaximander's foreign presence as a further threat. Worse, Cleon's agents arrived, their presence marked by a warning carved into Zaleucus' workshop door. The mapmaker's truth will burn. Anaximander confided in Empedocles, who listened with a mix of defiance and concern. Cleon is a storm, Empedocles said, but storms pass. Your apium is eternal, like my roots. You must protect it. Lysandra, practical as ever, urged action. Diana, we need allies. Anaximander, Zaleucus is kind, but he's no warrior. Empedocles' uncle has influence. Let's use it. Empedocles arranged for his uncle, a council elder named Phaedo, to shelter their work. Phaedo, intrigued by Anaximander's maps and Empedocles' charisma, offered his villa as a meeting place, but warned of Selene's power. Bad. The priestess guards Rhegium's soul. He said, tread lightly, or she'll turn the council against you. Their gatherings continued in secret. But Selene struck first. She accused Empedocles of heresy in the agora, claiming his four roots mocked Artemis's dominion. Anaximander, implicated as a foreign instigator, faced scrutiny from the council. Zaleucus and Phaedo defended them, citing Anaximander's maps and Empedocles' healing skills, but the council, fearing unrest, banned public teachings. That night, Cleon's agents attacked Phaedo's villa, seeking Lysandra's tablets. Empedocles, wielding a staff and his poet's fire, rallied the household, driving the attackers off, but the villa was damaged, and several tablets were lost. Mira, the Sicel healer, hid the remaining tablets, her knowledge of the hills proving invaluable. Anaximander, shaken, knew Rhegium was no longer safe. We must leave, he told Lysandra. Crete, perhaps, or back to Ionia. The colonies are too fraught. Empedocles, his face bruised but resolute, disagreed. Stay, Anaximander. Rhegium needs your apium, my roots. We'll fight Selene, Cleon, all of them. But Lysandra's pragmatism prevailed. Crete is far, she said. Its mountains will hide us. Empedocles, come with us. Your voice deserves a wider stage. Empedocles shook his head. My roots are here, in Selle's soil, but your apium will live. Anaximander, send word when you're safe. As dawn broke, Anaximander and Lysandra boarded a ship for Crete, their tablets hidden in a new amphora. Rhegium's cliffs faded, but Empedocles' voice lingered. Love binds, strife divides. The apium, Anaximander thought, was both a boundless dance of creation and conflict. Crete lay ahead, a rugged horizon for a philosophy that burned through every storm, carried by exiles whose truths would not be quenched. The rocky shores of Crete emerged from the mist of the Cretan Sea in the summer of 57 BCE, their jagged cliffs a stark contrast to the sunlit waves below. Anaximander and Lysandra disembarked from a weathered trading vessel in the port of Knossos, their cloaks tattered from the journey and their hearts heavy with the weight of their exile. The attack on Phaedo's villa in Rhegium still haunted them, a grim reminder of Cleon's unyielding pursuit across the Greek world. Their original scrolls remained hidden in Xenophanos' cave near Athens, but Lysandra's tablets, concealed in a sealed amphora, carried Anaximander's latest reflections on the Apian. Crete, an island of ancient myths and rugged independence, promised a temporary haven, but Anaximander knew their quest for truth would face new trials in this land of Minos and the labyrinth. Crete was a world apart, its culture shaped by the echoes of a Minoan past and the fierce autonomy of its Greek settlers. Knossos, though no longer the palace of legend, was a bustling hub of trade, its agora filled with merchants trading pottery, wool, and honey. The island's interior, dotted with mountains and shrines to Zeus, was governed by a loose coalition of city-states, each with its own council and priesthood. Anaximander and Lysandra found shelter through a contact of Zaleucus, a potter named Idomeneus, who lived in a modest house overlooking Knossos' harbor. In exchange for lodging, Anaximander mapped trade routes to Egypt and Cyprus, while Lysandra recorded Idomeneus's transactions, her tablets a secret archive for their philosophical work. By day, Anaximander charted the island's coasts, his maps guiding ships through Crete's treacherous waters. His skill earned Idomeneus's respect and the attention of local traders, who valued his precision but knew nothing of the philosopher beneath the map-maker's guise. Lysandra, ever diligent, transcribed cargo logs while etching Anaximander's thoughts in stolen moments. In their quiet evenings, he spoke of the Aether as a boundless source, eternal and dynamic, giving rise to the cosmos through the interplay of opposites. The Earth is a cylinder, he told Lysandra, tracing its form in the dust, floating in the Aether's embrace, its stars fiery rings governed by unseen laws. Lysandra, her stylus poised, nodded but pressed him. Your Aether is a grand vision, Anaximander, but Crete's people cling to Zeus and the myths of the labyrinth. Your ideas will seem alien here, and Cleon's shadow follows us. How will we share this without peril? Her question lingered until one afternoon in the Agora, where a young man addressed a small crowd near a shrine to Zeus. He was Anaxagoras, a visitor from Clazomene and Ioniania, barely 19, his voice clear and confident as he spoke of a cosmic mind. All things were together, he declared, until Nous' mind set them in motion. Nous is pure, infinite, ordering the chaos into stars, earth, and life. The crowd, a mix of traders, shepherds, and a few priests, murmured, some intrigued, others skeptical. A priest of Zeus, a grizzled man named Creton, stepped forward, his staff striking the ground. Mind, you replace Zeus's thunder with this Nous, boy. The gods rule the cosmos, not your fancies. Anaxagoras, unperturbed, met Creton's gaze. Zeus is a name, priest, for what Nous achieves. Mind orders all seeds of everything exist, and Nous stirs them into being. Look to the stars' paths. The earth's quakes, do they not follow a rational order? Anaximander, captivated, approached Anaxagoras after the crowd dispersed. I am Anaximander, once of Miletus, he said. Your Nous echoes my Aether, a boundless source that births the cosmos. But your mind implies purpose, while my Aether is nature's own force. Shall we explore this together? Anaxagoras' eyes, bright with curiosity, studied Anaximander. Aether, a noble thought, map-maker. My Nous is the mover, the reason within your boundless source. Come to my host's house tonight, and we'll test our visions. Lysandra, cautious as ever, whispered, he's bold, Anaximander, but his ideas will anger the priests, just as Empedocles did. We must tread carefully. But Anaximander was drawn to Anaxagoras's clarity. That evening, they joined him at the house of his host, a merchant named Eurybiades, whose villa overlooked Knossos' olive groves. Over cups of honeyed wine, Anaxagoras elaborated, his voice steady. News is infinite, he said. Unlike anything else, it separates and orders the seeds earth, water, air, fire, into the cosmos we see. Your apiarn, Anaximander, is the chaos before news brings order. Anaximander countered, his mind alight. Your news is compelling, Anaxagoras, but my apiarn needs no mind to create. It is boundless, holding opposites, hot and cold, wet and dry, that clash and form the world. The cylinder earth, the fiery stars, they arise from this nature, not a guiding thought. Anaxagoras leaned forward, a faint smile on his lips. Yet without news, how do patterns emerge? The stars' paths, the seasons' cycles, they speak of a mind, not mere chant. Your apiarn is the clay, mine the sculptor. Lysandra, transcribing their debate, found Anaxagoras's news a fascinating complement to Anaximander's vision, a bridge between chaos and order. Over weeks, they met regularly, joined by a small circle of listeners, sailors, a Cretan poet named Thalassa, and a young astronomer named Cleostratus, whose star charts intrigued Anaxagoras. Anaximander shared his theories cautiously, speaking of life's origins in the sea and the cosmos's structure, while Anaxagoras countered with tales of news shaping infinite seeds into reality. But Crete was not a sanctuary. The temple of Zeus, led by Creton, grew wary of Anaxagoras's teachings, which challenged the god's supremacy. Creton, a shrewd man with a network of informants, saw Anaximander's foreign presence as a further threat. Worse, Cleon's agents reached Knossos, their arrival marked by a warning scratched into Idomeneus's door. The mapmaker's truth ends here. Anaximander confided in Anaxagoras, who listened with calm resolve. Cleon is a shadow, he said, but Nous is light. Your Apiron will endure, Anaximander, as my mind endures. We must protect our work. Lysandra, ever practical, urged action. We need allies. Anaximander, Idomeneus is kind, but he's no match for Creton or Cleon. Eurybiades has influence. Let's use it. Anaxagoras arranged for Eurybiades to host their gatherings, his villa a safer space than the agora. Eurybiades, intrigued by Anaximander's maps and Anaxagoras's charisma, agreed, but warned of Creton's power. The priest guards Crete's myths, he said. Speak softly, or he'll rouse the council against you. Their secret meetings continued, but Creton struck first. He accused Anaxagoras of impiety in Knossos Agora, claiming his news mocked Zeus's divine will. Anaximander, implicated as a foreign agitator, faced scrutiny from the council. Idomeneus and Eurybiades defended them, citing Anaximander's maps and Anaxagoras's astronomical insights. But the council, fearing unrest, banned public teachings. That night, Cleon's agents attacked Eurybiades' villa, seeking Lysandra's tablets. Anaxagoras, wielding a staff with surprising agility, rallied the household, While Thalassa hid the tablets in a nearby shrine, the attackers fled, but the villa was damaged, and several tablets were lost. Cleos Stratus, the astronomer, helped salvage the rest, his knowledge of Crete's caves proving vital. Anaximander, shaken, knew Crete was no longer safe. "We must leave," he told Lysandra. "Ionia, perhaps Ephesus or Miletus, where this began. Crete's myths stifle us." Anaxagoras, his face resolute, disagreed. "Stay, Anaximander. News will guide us. Crete needs your Aperon, my mind." But Lysandra's pragmatism prevailed. "Ephesus," she said. "It's far from Cleon's strongholds, and Heraclitus may still be there. Anaxagoras, come with us. Your news deserves a wider world." Anaxagoras shook his head. "My path is here, for now, but your Aperon will live. Anaximander, send word when you're safe." As dawn broke, Anaximander and Lysandra boarded a ship for Ephesus, their tablets hidden in a new amphora. Crete's cliffs faded, but Anaxagoras's voice lingered. News orders, the Aperon, Anaximander thought, was both source and order, a mystery no mind could fully grasp. Ephesus lay ahead, a return to Ionia's heart, where new horizons awaited a philosophy that burned through every storm, carried by exiles whose truths would not be silenced. The port of Ephesus, a glittering jewel on Ionia's coast, bustled with life in the autumn of 706 BCE. Anaximander and Lysandra stepped onto the quay, their cloaks worn thin by years of exile, their hearts a tapestry of hope and weariness. The journey from Crete had been fraught with storms and the ever-present fear of Cleon's agents, but Ephesus, where Anaximander's philosophical quest had begun under Thalia's guidance, felt like a homecoming. Their original scrolls, still hidden in Xenophanes' cave near Athens, were a distant anchor, but Lysandra's tablets, concealed in a sealed amphora, carried Anaximander's refined vision of the Aperon. Ephesus, a city of trade and ideas, promised a chance to rebuild, but Anaximander knew Cleon's shadow loomed, and their return would ignite a final reckoning. Ephesus was a city reborn, its wealth flowing from the Temple of Artemis, one of the world's wonders, and its harbor, a crossroads for Persia, Egypt, and the Greek world, ruled by a council of merchants and priests. It balanced piety with pragmatism, its agora alive with poets, traders, and mystics. Anaximander and Lysandra found shelter through a contact of Eurybiades, a scribe named Callimachus, who lived in a modest house near the Cayster River. In exchange for lodging, Anaximander mapped trade routes to Lydia, while Lysandra recorded Callimachus's archives, her tablets a secret repository for their philosophical work. By day, Anaximander charted the currents of the Aegean, his maps earning Callimachus's trust and the notice of Ephesus' merchants. Lysandra, ever vigilant, transcribed cargo logs, while etching Anaximander's thoughts in stolen moments. In their quiet evenings, he spoke of the Aperon as a boundless source, eternal yet dynamic, birthing the cosmos. Through the clash of opposites, the earth is a cylinder, he told Lysandra, sketching its form in the sand, floating in the Aperon's embrace. Its stars fiery wheels in cosmic rings. Life began in the sea, evolving from simple forms to man. Lysandra, her stylus poised, nodded but pressed him. Your Aperon, is a flame, Anaximander, but Ephesus worships Artemis's light. Cleon will find us here, where it all began. How will we protect this legacy? Her question was answered sooner than expected. One evening in the agora, a familiar voice cut through the crowd's murmur. It was Heraclitus, older now, his dark eyes still burning with the fire of flux. He spoke to a small gathering, his words cryptic yet piercing. All is change, a river ever flowing. The logos is fire, binding opposites in strife. Seek it, and you seek truth. The crowd, a mix of traders, scribes, and a few Artemis priestesses, listened, some captivated, others skeptical. A merchant, his tunic heavy with gold, challenged him. Change. Artemis endures, her temple eternal. Your flux mocks her stability. Heraclitus, unyielding, smiled. Artemis is a name for the logos. Merchant. Her temple stands, yet its stones erode. All is one, all is flux. Anaximander, heart pounding with recognition, approached after the crowd dispersed. Heraclitus of Ephesus. He said, I am Anaximander, returned from exile. Your flux still challenges my Eperon, a boundless source beyond change. Shall we renew our debate? Heraclitus' face lit with a rare warmth. Anaximander, the river has brought you back. Your Eperon is a still pool, mine a raging stream. Come to my house tonight, and we'll stir the cosmos. Lysandra, cautious, whispered, he's fiercer than before. Anaximander, his words will draw the priest's ire, and Cleon's agents are surely near. But Anaximander was eager to reconnect. That evening, they joined Heraclitus at his modest home, where he lived alone, surrounded by scrolls and the scent of cedar. Over cups of diluted wine, Heraclitus elaborated, his voice a crackle of fire. The logos is change, he said, a unity of opposites, day and night, life and death. Your Eperon, Anaximander, is a dream of eternity, but the world is strife, ever burning. Anaximander countered, his mind alight. Your flux is vivid, Heraclitus, but my Eperon holds it. It is boundless, birthing opposites that clash and form the cosmos. The cylinder Earth, the fiery stars, they arise from this source, not your ceaseless fire. Heraclitus leaned forward, his eyes gleaming. Yet your source moves, does it not? Opposites clash. There's your flux, hidden in your boundless dream. We're not so far apart. Lysandra, transcribing their debate, found Heraclitus' logos a dynamic echo of Anaximander's vision, a dance of fire and boundlessness. Over weeks, they met often, joined by a small circle sailors, a poet named Phocylides, and a young mathematician named Hippasus, whose geometric proofs intrigued Heraclitus. Anaximander shared his theories cautiously, speaking of life's origins and the cosmos's structure, while Heraclitus countered with riddles of flux and unity. But Ephesus was no sanctuary. The temple of Artemis, led by a priestess named Melantha, grew wary of Heraclitus's teachings, which drew crowds from her rituals. Melantha, a shrewd woman with a network of spies, saw Anaximander's return as a foreign threat. Worse, Cleon himself arrived. His crimson robe a stark warning in the agora. Callimachus, shaken, urged caution. Cleon has the council's ear, he said. Cleon has the council's ear. Tanio has the council's ear. Tanio, hide your tablets, or flee. Anaximander confided in Heraclitus. who scoffed, Cleon is a spark in my fire. Let him come, the Logos will outlast him. Lysandra, pragmatic, urged action. We need allies. Anaximander, Callimachus is kind, but Melantha and Cleon are too strong. Cleon, we must retrieve our scrolls from Xenophanes and secure our legacy. Cleon, Heraclitus, surprisingly, agreed. Send word to your poet. I'll guard Ephesus while you reclaim your work. The river flows, but it remembers its source. Cleon, Anaximander, arranged for a trusted sailor to carry a message to Xenophanes, seeking the scrolls. But before a reply came, Cleon struck. Melantha, allied with the priest, accused Anaximander and Heraclitus of heresy in the Agora, rallying a mob to demand their exile. Callimachus and a few merchants defended them, citing Anaximander's maps and Heraclitus's wisdom. But the council, fearing Artemis's wrath, summoned them for trial. The trial was a storm of accusations. Cleon, his voice booming, branded Anaximander a blasphemer, his Apirine a denial of the gods. Melantha accused Heraclitus of sowing chaos with his flood. Anaximander, standing tall, defended his vision. The Apirine seeks truth, he said, not to deny Artemis, but to understand her world. My maps guide your ships, let my ideas guide your minds. Cleon added, the Logos is change, the fire of life. You fear it, but it is your own truth. The council wavered, but Cleon's gold and Melantha's influence tipped the scales. Exile was decreed, but before it could be enforced, a messenger arrived. Xenophanes, weathered but alive, bearing the scrolls from Athens. Your Apirine lives, he told Anaximander, and my one god guards it. In the chaos, Heraclitus rallied their followers, staging a distraction in the Agora with fiery speeches. Anaximander and Lysandra, with Xenophanes, slipped to the harbor, their scrolls and tablets hidden in a new amphora. Cleon pursued, but Hippasus and Phospholida delayed him, their loyalty a testament to the Philosophers' impact. As their ship sailed from Ephesus, Anaximander stood at the bow, the scrolls in his hands. Lysandra, beside him, etched a final tablet, capturing Heraclitus' parting words. The Logos is one, and all is one. The Apirine, Anaximander thought, was a spark kindled in Miletus, fanned by Pythagoras' numbers. Xenophanes' unity, Parmenides' being, Empedocles' roots, Anaxagoras' nous, and Heraclitus' flux. It was a flame that had burned through exile, fire, and trial, carried by Lysandra's tablets and the minds they had touched. Their destination was uncertain, perhaps Samos again, or a new colony, but the Greek world was changing. The philosophers they had met, from Thales to Anaxagoras, were planting seeds that would grow into schools, debates, and a legacy that would shape Athens, Alexandria, and beyond. Cleon's shadow faded in the distance, his power no match for the boundless truth they carried. Anaximander gazed at the stars, their fiery rings a mirror of his Apirine. We are not exiles, he told Lysandra, but bearers of a light that will not die. She smiled, her tablet complete. Then let it burn, Anaximander, let it burn forever.